I
What's
didn't get a
going on,
notification.
everybody? Welcome into Blazers Uprise Live. I said all right. I should have let Eric know I was going live, but yeah, apparently Eric didn't get a notification. That's our intro. What's going on? We are going to be previewing Game 2, and we're going to be talking about the NBA games that happened tonight. That is what we got on tap for the stream. Probably only going to stream an hour or so, but that is the plan. That is the plan. I don't know if notifications got sent out for this. I'm going to double check that. It
Just
is
got one on my phone.
okay, dope. So we'll let more people filter in here. And then we'll break down the NBA action from today. We got to talk about Paul George because that man cannot be talking at this point. Like, why was that man talking trash to Dame about going home early and then he's going to shoot 4 for 17? Come on, man. Dude, the Western Conference, every series is interesting. I feel like any series in the Western Conference could be an upset. You know, you have Utah that just slaughtered Denver today. We'll go in depth on that game a little bit. You had Dallas beat the Clippers, so both those series are 1-1. Dallas might have won game 1 if Porzingis didn't get ejected. Like, these series are competitive, and that's what I love to see. You had, I mean, the game today, the two Western Conference games today weren't competitive. They were pretty much blowouts, but, like, it was to tie up the series 1-1, so we'll see how these play out. But I love it. Parity, man. It seems like so long ago we were talking about, oh, we can't wait for the season because there should be a ton of parity in the NBA. And you see it right now in this playoffs, man. You see these series being competitive. You see the parity. I mean, if the Blazers win in this first round, I'm hoping the Clippers lose. Imagine that, man. Then it would just be completely wide open. Yeah, anyway, what are your thoughts on this Western Conference playoff so far?
It's just weird because, you go into this thinking, Lakers and Clippers are obviously the front runners to make a deep run here. And then the Clippers looked okay in game 1 and then terrible tonight. And then you had the Lakers look really bad against us. So yeah, and none of the other teams scare me. Denver looks super beatable. They have a lot of issues right now with injuries and stuff too.
Yep. They're also struggling
Utah
defensively. Today they got lit up by a depleted Utah team. And that's what I've always said about Denver too, is they don't have enough defense with their young core.
Yep. And yeah, Utah's super beatable. I feel like Houston and OKC are beatable. Dallas might be the toughest matchup for us if they're healthy, but yeah, who knows if they'd make it that far.
Just seeing what we did against Harden, though, I feel like if we put out that same game plan towards Dallas, we could be fine. Play Doncic the same way we play Westbrook.
Okay.
It would be curious. I would be curious to see, like, okay, if we run the same game plan we run against Houston, how does that look against Dallas? Like, could Dallas exploit it more? Probably either of those teams over a series would adjust, and probably perform better against our traps than they do in the regular season. But yeah, man. I mean, I would love for all those series to go 1-1, but ours be 2-0.
Be the only 2-0 one. Yeah,
that'd be awesome. Hamza, I don't think we're lagging. I think
we have been in and out.
We have been. At the moment,
bad, but it's yeah.
Okay, a little hiccups.
Now we're lagging.
Are we?
Yeah, there's been like 10 little hiccups.
Hey, yesterday we had.
Just keep your door open, man.
I don't like keeping open. I didn't keep it open the whole stream, and we had none yesterday. We had, a almost 3-hour stream yesterday, and we had no lag. That was, the stream to have no lag on was that one, man. I'd rather have lag on this one than that one. And yesterday we got really lucky, I guess, with no lag. So, anyway, let's just go on ESPN, man. I'm kind of just jumping into the stream without really much of a plan.
But yeah, we got to talk about Paul George a little more.
We do. Let me just touch on the games in chronological order, so we'll get to that as the last game. Starting off, I didn't watch any of the Raptors Nets game. But the Nets made it close. This was the closest game of the day, surprisingly. The Raptors did pull it out to go up 2-0 over the Nets. They were led by Fred VanVleet, who had 24 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds. He wasn't efficient, though. 8 for 22 from the field, 3 for 11 from the three-point line. Played 43 minutes, which is an insane amount. They had 21 from Kyle Lowry, 21, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. They had 19 and 6 from Pascal Siakam. Norman Powell had 24 off the bench. He has improved a lot this season, and I think he's become one of the more underrated players in the league. Because this year, man, he averaged, 17 a game? He averaged 16 points per game. I pull up his stats. He averaged...
the first candy to make
and
something
then the ad.
thin.
And then the Reese's ad. That makes me want some Reese's. But, I mean, dude, Norman Powell, I feel like he doesn't get enough love. He averaged 16 a game this year, plays good defense, shot 40% from 3, almost 50% from the field.
Yeah, he's a decent player, man.
That's part of the reason why
they have a lot of those guys.
Yeah, and I mean
that's probably the problem.
That's part of the reason they've been able to maintain how good they were. You know, they lose Kawhi, but other guys have stepped up this year. OG Anunoby has improved. Pascal Siakam improved some more. And Norman Powell improved a ton as well. So I love the Raptors. I love the Raptors. If, it's not going to be the Blazers, I would love to see them pull it off again without Kawhi. That would be a cool story. For the Nets in a losing effort, you had Garrett Temple with 21. He's been playing well. You had Luwawu Cabarrot, who started today. He had 17 on 6 for 16 from the field. Karis LeVert shot 5 for 22, 16 points, 11 assists, 6 rebounds. He is distributing well. He's really basically their point guard right now. But he has to shoot better from the field. That's the thing. They lost by 5, and he went 5 for 22. If he goes 8 for 22, they get a win. You know what I mean? Like, he has to shoot a higher efficiency than that.
Well, they controlled this game for most of it and lost it in the fourth quarter, but
yeah,
they were playing pretty well, especially in the first half.
Yep, Toronto outscored them 30-19 in the fourth. You had 14, 15, and 5 from Jared Allen. He played well. Joe Harris dropped 14 points and 15 rebounds as well, but then he left the bubble right after this game, so that is a huge loss for the Nets. So I honestly expect the Raptors to end up sweeping this series. I think this is the closest the Nets are going to get. They really couldn't afford to lose Joe Harris. They're already pretty depleted as it is. So I don't know who replaces him, Lance Thomas or somebody. Like, they don't have good options. Justin Anderson, they don't have good options, so...
Not at all.
I think that's about it for the Nets. The game after that, you had the Jazz running the Nuggets out of the building. The Jazz had a 43-point third quarter and were led by Donovan Mitchell, who's playing great basketball right now. He had 30 points, 8 assists. He shot 10 for 14 from the field, 6 for 7 from 3. When Donovan Mitchell is hitting threes like that, he is so hard to guard because he's streaky, When he's not hitting threes, it's easier. He's kind of like a slasher, attacks the rim well, gets downhill, is crafty around the rim, and explosive. But when he's hitting threes like that, and some of the threes I saw him hit off the dribble, every time I was door dashing, and every time I went into a restaurant, I saw him hit a 3 off the dribble. I caught like 3 or 4 of them. Just, lucky timing, I guess. But I noticed he was going off even though I was barely even watching the game. You had 19 from Gobert, 18 from Joe Ingles. Royce O'Neal had 9 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds. He played a good game for them. And then they had contribution from their bench for once. They had 26 from Jordan Clarkson, who's really their only guy off the bench, but they also had 7 from George Niang.
I saw him hit a mid-range fadeaway 2-pointer.
Who, Niang or Clarkson?
Yeah, it was Niang. Yeah, it wasn't a 3-pointer, but
yeah,
I like how you always mention that whenever you watch him, it sucks.
Bro, it's sad that right now that's their 7th man.
I know.
Is George Niang or Emmanuel Moody. Moutier sucks too.
Yeah,
their bench is going to be a problem. Their starters have to play really well every night, but that's what their starters did. Gobert 7 for 12, Ingles Gobert 7 for 10, Ingles 7 for 12, Donovan Mitchell 10 for 14, Royce O'Neal 9, 8, and 7. Their starters have to play well. You had 28 from MPJ in a losing effort. Not impressed. You had 28, 11, and 6. Man, but that guy, like I said, that guy can't defend. And that was the problem with the Nuggets today. They couldn't defend. Utah in that third quarter just popped off from 3. And Michael Porter Jr., that team needs defense, right? That team needs defense. Even here's what I'm looking at, right? Jamal Murray didn't really do much today. He only had 14 points, but their two main offensive guys, Jokic and Porter, each had 28, right? Jokic was 10 for 21. Porter was 10 for 17. And they only scored 105 points, right? Like, they struggle to win games if they only score 105. Just their defense isn't good enough. Their defense is solid, I guess. You know, you got Millsap there, you got Craig. Murray is like an okay defender, but Porter Jr. and Jokic, they don't defend.
Well, this is the problem when you don't have Harris and Barton, because Barton left the bubble. Now he's likely out for the year.
What happened with him?
His knee wasn't getting better, so he left to go to some place to rehab it and hope it gets better. But I mean, even if he's back in a few weeks and then he has to quarantine and all that, so like, who knows if he'll be back. I don't know what Harris's deal is, but that's their best perimeter defender. So, it's tough not having those guys.
Yep. I'm just not a fan of Michael Porter Jr.'s fit on this team. Like, he needs to go somewhere else, I think. Like, you can't have your best three players be Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, and Michael Porter Jr., in my opinion. You're never going to be anything but an average to below average defense.
I don't think Javo's in here, but don't let me in with Torrey, man. Just don't.
What? Do you disagree on that?
Not necessarily with the fit, but overall, I think Michael Porter Jr. has the skills to be a pretty good player in this league.
So do I.
But he was saying the other day, like, basically what like the mellow people say to us, like, we're both hating on him when, like, you're the one hating on Michael Porter Jr. I haven't really hated on him at all. So
I'm not hating on him. It's just my opinion.
I don't know why Javo included me as a hater too. But
I don't know, man. Anybody who DMs me about Michael Porter Jr., if I'm following you, I'm unfollowing you. I'm so tired of getting Michael. Every time Michael Porter Jr. makes a shot, somebody DMs me like, see, look at that shot he made. Told you, like, blah, blah, blah. I'm so tired of hearing about Michael Porter Jr., man. I'm so tired about hearing it. Today, like, yes, he could score the ball. He shot well, right? 0 assists. Bad defense. Only 6 rebounds. Like, the rebounding solid, I guess. But, like, that's the thing. He's only a scorer to me. He's only a scorer. So, like, yes, he could be a good scorer, but, like, he doesn't do literally anything else.
I'm willing to give him time on that because, like, there aren't a lot of rookies that come in and are great at everything right away. So I'm not going to knock him until he's in a few years into the league. And
yeah, the thing is, he has to improve so much that I'm not super confident that he will get to where he needs to be in other areas of the game. You know, he's not going to be somebody that's going to give you like 30 points per game. In my opinion, he doesn't have that type of. He's not like I don't think he'll ever be as dynamic as like a Harden or a Lillard or a guy like that. I think he might be like a 23 point per game guy in his prime and doesn't do anything else. Like, yes, that's a good player for sure, but not the type of player that's going to lead a contending team. Not even close. So that's just my opinion on him. He's definitely a hot topic with me. Better than Gallinari. Hey, Gallinari has stretches like this too, all right? So I predicted this. Anyway, so the Jazz beat the Nuggets, tying the series up at 1-1. Imagine Jazz and Dallas in the second round, man. Both those teams won today. That would be unforeseen. That would be fun. Imagine us versus Houston on one side of the bracket, and then Dallas versus Utah. I want things to be that wide open. Knock out the Clippers and the Lakers right off the bat. We'll get to this Dallas game. You had the Celtics just blow the doors off the Sixers. Okay, I actually want to talk about the Sixers after I go through this box score. The Celtics were led by Jason Tatum once again. He had 33 and 5, 8 for 12 from the three-point line. They had 22 from Kemba. It's fun to see Kemba in the playoffs on like a successful team because he was loyal to Charlotte for the most part, you know, and then Charlotte like lowballed him and stuff, so he left. But he was loyal to Charlotte even though they were managed horribly. So I always respect guys like that, and it's always good to see guys like that actually like have some, you know, be on a winning team on the playoff stage. So it's good to see Kemba in this situation.
And he's a guy who in college single-handedly carried
Yep.
a team to a title as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought maybe he could do when he was younger. He thought maybe he could do that with an NBA team too. But it's a lot harder in the NBA as Melo did the same thing and
Yeah.
didn't really have much playoff success throughout his
Honestly,
career.
nobody can carry an NBA team to a title quite like Kemba carried that UConn team to a title. You know what I mean? Because that's like that team was a 3 seed, I think. They did have some like decent. I mean, it wasn't. Well, I wouldn't say it's just him, but he definitely like carried that team. Definitely carried that team in a way that like you see guys every now and then carry a college team like that. Shoot, Shabazz Napier. A couple years after that, carried UConn as well. But you don't really see that in the NBA. So it's nice to see him have some actual talent around him. You have Jaylen Brown, who had 20 points. Marcus Smart started, which he's going to be their starter now that Gordon Hayward's out. So my question with them was, what's their bench going to look like? They had 10 off the bench from Enes Kanter, who played 22 minutes. Grant Williams had 9 and made both his threes, surprisingly. Brad Wanamaker had 7 for them. Romeo Langford got 23 minutes in this game and had 6 points. That's interesting to see. How much of this game did you catch?
I caught most of it. They were just up by like 20 to 30 points.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite 30, but like in the upper 20s, and basically just coasted and were playing a lot of those guys' minutes that they could afford to do because they weren't cutting into the lead at all, the Sixers.
Yeah.
So you might as well just let your scrubs play and rest your starters. So yeah, they didn't really have to do a whole lot in this game.
How'd Romeo Langford look from what you saw? Because I am curious about that.
He looked okay, better than I thought he would be in this game. His defense is pretty solid. He made a couple of I saw him have like one little floater around the free throw line. That was kind of nice. But yeah, to be a guard in this league, you've got to hit the 3 consistently. I don't know what his percentage was for the season. I don't think he really played a lot this season. But yeah, he's going to have to improve his outside shot to get a spot in this league.
It is only 3 he took today, but yeah, I definitely agree with that. The thing is, his form is good. A lot of people probably don't even know who we're talking about, but I think he's a really intriguing player because he was highly rated in high school, had some injury issues in college, was like playing with a hand injury, if I recall correctly. Then got drafted 14th to Boston, which is an interesting situation for him. So I am interested to see how he develops because I think a lot of people that kind of knew who he was in high school because he was so highly rated have forgotten about him. And I feel like he's going to be a really good player in a couple years. Boston develops players well, and he's skilled inside the arc. He can defend. I think he will be able to develop a 3-point jumper. He could be dangerous.
See, I think I'm a little unfair towards Langford because I keep thinking about if Boston would have taken like a Brandon Clark at 14 or something and how he would look with that offense. And I think that would have been a perfect fit. So like I don't mean to like downgrade him as a player because of that, but like I feel like Boston messed that draft up a little bit, and because of that, like no matter, like he'd have to like be pretty good to overcome that,
Yep. For the 76ers, you had Joel Embiid with 34 and 10. Other than that, he didn't get a lot of help. You had Josh Richardson shoot 6 for 12 and pouring 18 points. You had Shake Milton pouring 14. They didn't really get anything off the bench. Al Horford, that situation has been a disaster. In his 23 minutes, he only had 4 points and 2 rebounds. You had Raul Neto.
Oh, let's try CJ for him.
CJ, oh my goodness. Raul Neto play. You had Burks, Korkmaz. None of them did anything. You had Tobias Harris shoot 4 for 15 and only pour in 13 points.
He's been bad.
That was basically the box score for them. And, dude, Philadelphia has an issue. Philadelphia needs to shake things up in a major way this offseason. Aaron Gordon for CJ Shervins. Don't make me throw up into my mic, man. I'll just answer chat until Eric's mad. Okay, I'm gonna restate like my overall point with Philadelphia. They need to shake things up in a major way this offseason.
So, if you're Philly, do you trade one of the big two? And if so, which one? Let's shout out to Trevin for the question, I think.
I don't even know. Like, leaning towards yes, but it's like, dude, they're stuck. They are, like, Blazer fans will talk about, oh, stuck in purgatory, stuck in between not being good enough to contend, but not bad enough to, like, get good draft picks so we can improve type of thing, right? Blazers were never, like, stuck in that position. They had enough flexibility, and their talent got better, and they have young talent and stuff. The definition of being stuck in purgatory right now is Philadelphia, because I don't think Embiid is going to get that much better than he is right now. I don't think Ben Simmons is going to get that much better than he is right now, because, like, the main area Ben Simmons could improve is his three-point shot, but it's so bad I don't think it will ever be effective. And then other parts of his game, it's just like he seems pretty maxed out as a player, right? So you look at those two, like, they're young, but I think they're pretty, like, close to their ceiling. The rest of their roster is just a mess. You're paying Tobias Harris and Al Horford a combined, like, $62 million to give you a combined 17 points in a playoff game. Tobias shot 4 for 15. Al Horford had 4 and 2 on only 3 shots in 23 minutes. And you're paying those guys max contracts for the most part.
I think in a year or two it's going to be up closer to 80 million.
Yeah, like, those guys are getting paid so much, and they're not, like, Horford is over the hill. Horford is declining. That was a bad contract to give him. Like, I understand the thought process. Like, you can get an asset like that, and
4 years.
But 4 years was a mistake.
The third year is kind of like half guaranteed or something, unless they win the finals, or some weird language in it. But they had a bad offseason, man. And then letting a guy like Reddick go, who was one of their only shooters, that hurt them as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. Their payroll is so high because you're paying Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid max contracts. Then you got Tobias Harris and Al Horford taking up just a humongous chunk of money to do basically nothing. Tobias has struggled in these 2 playoff games. I think he's a bit overrated. Like, I don't know. He had like a good stretch. I think he overachieved for a stretch there with like Detroit and then with the Clippers especially, and then he ended up getting traded to the Sixers, right? I think he overachieved in a contract year, just a perfect example of that. And now he's kind of back to being not that close to an all-star caliber player. He can still give you 18, 19 points per game, but his efficiency has gone down. He's not going to defend. He's not going to make plays for others. And he's being paid a max contract. Like, he's overpaid. Al Horford's overpaid. So they're stuck in a position where they can't really improve their team. And this team, as it's built, with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, in my opinion, being close to their ceiling, with Al Horford regressing, without like a real blue chip prospect that they can bank on their improvement to help take them to the next level. They don't have a guy like that. So it's like, how are they going to get better? I don't see them getting better. Like, right now they're hurting because they don't have Ben Simmons, but they lost by 27 today. Right? Ben Simmons doesn't help them win this game. So going into the offseason, they need to shake things up. They don't have one guy who is a multifaceted, like, perimeter scoring threat at a high level. Like, they don't have like even a CJ McCollum type of perimeter scorer, right? You got Joel Embiid the big. You got Ben Simmons, who's a playmaker, can't shoot the 3. Their closest thing to a like a perimeter scorer that you can give the ball and he can go get you a bucket, their closest thing might be Josh Richardson. Like, who else?
Our defense.
Yeah, like, I mean, yes, but like, that's the thing. In the playoffs, you need guys like a CJ McCollum. That's why I haven't been fully on board the trade CJ train. Like, you need guys that, like, okay, if the offense isn't working, if things are struggling, you can give them the ball. They can go get you a bucket, right? They can force defenses to have to load up on them a little bit, and that opens up things for other players. They don't have anybody like that.
Yeah, stop with the CJ for Simmons comments. It's not going to happen, first of all. And second of all, both Tori and I disagree. We think that would be a really bad move for Portland.
That'd be a travesty. Imagine if Dame's getting loaded up on, right? And instead of throwing the ball to CJ who can go get you a bucket, you throw the ball to Ben Simmons, and guys just guard him 5 feet below the 3-point line. I'm like, no thank you. Especially in the playoffs, because you know what? Ben Simmons' game does not translate well to the playoffs. Guys like that who rely on being big and stronger and faster and more physical than like players at their position, but they can't shoot the 3-ball, their games don't translate well to the playoffs because you can get away with more defensively. You can be more physical. So on these drives that Ben Simmons, does in the playoffs, in my opinion, like, guys can be more physical with him. It's going to be harder for Ben Simmons to effectively score in the playoffs than it is during the regular season. And he's already only a 16-point-per-game guy anyway.
Yeah, the only way I would say I would make that trade is if you had another move or it was part of a bigger trade where you had a team that was willing to give you a piece that didn't want CJ but wanted like Simmons because he's younger. I can't think of an example of that player, but that would be the only way. Like I just think it would be Simmons and Dame is such a bad fit on the roster, and I don't want to take the ball out of Dame's hands. At least as much as Simmons would need to. I do want to have Dame play off the ball more, but not because we have a player that can't shoot and can only pass the ball, basically. Yeah. So, I just don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I wasn't even going to go in on it. I knew people would like talk about that when I brought this up, but we've talked about it so many times. Like, Ben Simmons is not a good fit. Ben Simmons is not a better player than CJ McCollum. Ben Simmons is overrated. His game doesn't translate to the playoffs. That's why. So no. Don't want him.
Here's the problem. If you're the Sixers, you can't really like rebuild or like scrap this plan, right? Because I mean, they're the ultimate, tank team. Look at all the years of frustration their fans had to deal with to get to this point where you had a couple of high draft picks and got these type of players. And this is also an example of just messing up one draft, how much that can happen. Because imagine if they did not make that trade with Boston and had Jason Tatum right now instead of Markelle Fultz. And like Tatum was their best player and Embiid was their second best, and you have Simmons as like your third best player, setting those guys up. Like that team then is something like maybe even championship level.
Yeah, they should have taken Tatum. And I was saying that at the time, that Tatum was the best player in that draft. And
yeah, me too.
I like Markelle Fultz played Washington. I'm a Husky fan. So I was a fan of Markelle Fultz, but Jason Tatum, I was saying he's the best player in that draft. They should have taken him. They messed up. But that's the thing, though. They're not going to ever be a contender unless they dramatically shake things up. And that means trading Ben Simmons with like draft picks, with maybe a Thibault. Like, you got to trade Ben Simmons for a player who is as good or better than Ben Simmons, but also fits better with Embiid and is a guy that can go and like efficiently score from all three levels and go create buckets, not just for other people, but for himself on all three levels. Like, that's what they need to do this offseason.
Yeah, I'm wondering if like trading Simmons for a team that maybe wins or gets high up in the lottery, plus like have a good like guard or something to pair with Embiid. So if you talk about getting like a young point guard, Anthony Edwards, and like to pair with Embiid, maybe, I don't know. But this is it's tough to like. I don't even know if that Magic trade is out there, like, or if they would even be willing to do it. We saw in our mock off season that maybe that trading Embiid would be the way to go, but Simmons hasn't been healthy either, so it's hard to judge either of them when they're not even around.
You know what I would do? I would go to the New York Knicks and offer Ben Simmons and Al Horford for the Knicks' first-round pick this year and see what they say. The Knicks might be dumb enough to do that. Like, the Knicks are just, like, desperate for a big-name player. They always are, right? Yes, they have a new front office, but, like, there's been rumors, they want Chris Paul, and, they want Devin Booker. If you're just, this offseason, the Knicks should have a lot of cap space. They have a lot of expiring deals coming off the books, right? So, like, if I'm the Sixers, I go to them, and I see if we can get, first overall pick, second overall pick, whatever it is. The draft lottery's tomorrow. Join us on this channel at 5:30 for the draft lottery tomorrow, so we can see what the picks actually are. But I'm going to the Knicks, and I'm offering Ben Simmons with Al Horford to get rid of that contract for the New York Knicks first round pick. And then I'll maybe shop that around for a player, but you shed that salary. You still got Tobias Harris on the books, but you can draft an Anthony Edwards or a LaMelo Ball or something. Just some like guy who like actually has maybe superstar potential if everything goes right. That actually would give him a chance. They'd have more flexibility and have a guy with a higher ceiling than Ben Simmons, if that makes sense.
I'm laughing at Emerson. He says, "Why offer Simmons and Horford when you can just offer the Knicks Horford only and they will accept it?" They do love their aging power forwards.
True.
But I was thinking about like, what if you went to like the Kings and like offered him Simmons for like De'Aaron Fox and like Harrison Barnes contract or some I'm not saying Harrison Barnes, but like someone to make the money work.
I don't think the Kings do that.
I don't know. Like they just tore like they have a whole new front office now. They're seemingly, I don't know. You saw the thing about they might just waive Bielitsa instead of picking up his $7 million
because they could get that would be stupid as hell. But like, bro, De'Aaron Fox.
But
Ben Simmons is not better than De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, but listen to me on this. I guarantee you there are GMs in this league that think that Ben Simmons is still like better than Fox.
Oh, sure.
Or like
that's why they should probably trade him.
So that's why you got to find a GM. Like that's what I'd be calling teams like that and trying to fleece them and end up with a guy like Fox who's still on his rookie deal. I mean, obviously he only has one more year, so you have to pay him eventually. And then like maybe another asset for him, and you might have end up with a better guard and someone else or a pick or something on top of that. Jake Carey and someone else mentioned possibly to Washington for Beal. I think Beal would be a good fit with Embiid. That would be an interesting combo.
Yeah. If Washington wants to kind of hit the rebuild and get a younger guy who's still a high caliber player,
him and Wall would be a terrible fit if Wall ever comes back. But
they would. I don't know what they do with that. They'd probably tank. They'd probably tank with Simmons and then try and get just add talent around him and see where that takes them. They do have bigs that can shoot, right? Thomas Bryant can shoot. Wagner can shoot. They got Bertans who can shoot. They got bigs that can shoot that are young. Yeah, if they resign him. But, like, Thomas Bryant is young. Wagner is young. Hachimura is young. And I think he will develop a three-point shot at some point. So I kind of like how Ben Simmons would fit in there. It would be interesting. And Beal would be somebody better than Simmons that could potentially take the Sixers to the next level. They just need they just need more pieces. Just pieces that complement those guys better. Because their role players are in over their heads with the roles they're in, right? Like they're third through. Like Josh Richardson should not. Like right now, Josh Richardson's the third best player on their team with the way Tobias Harris is playing. Josh Richardson cannot be the third best player on a contending team. He needs to be your fifth, sixth best player. He's a good player for sure, but he can't be your third best player. So that's kind of the problem they're in right now.
Yep.
It's like their two stars aren't cohesive, and then they don't have good enough depth. So I don't know. They need to do something. That is the one team that could really shake up this offseason. Because if they like get swept or something, I have to imagine they'll do something.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the Blazers this year. If they wouldn't have made the playoffs, they do have the injury excuse built in because Simmons and Embiid missed parts of this season, and then you had Simmons out for basically the whole bubble. Actually, he did miss the whole bubble, right? Because he got hurt before. Or was it in the scrimmage games that he got hurt?
I don't remember. Yeah, I think it was the...
But yeah, so that I could just see them saying, "Oh, look, we didn't have Simmons. Like, what are you gonna do?" But
that'd be a mistake. They need to fire. I bet you Brett Brown gets fired if they get swept.
Yeah,
Brett Brown is going to. I honestly think it's more likely he's gone because I think they do lose him 4 or 5.
It's the one thing I do have to give Peoples Mix credit for. He has been saying all along that they need to pick Ben Simmons and trade Embiid. I don't know if that's the right decision.
No, that's stupid.
But but he's been saying all along that they need to get rid of one of the two. So I have to give him credit for that.
No, you don't have to give that clown credit for anything. Screw that guy. But anyway, let's.
I don't think Golden State would want Simmons.
They'd want Embiid, but they don't have enough to go get him.
They do if they win the lottery tomorrow and they have that Minnesota pick next year.
That's not enough for Embiid.
I know that's not enough. I'm just saying you're getting in the ballpark maybe if they found a team that wanted Wiggins or something. I don't know. But yeah, that would be insane if they got him somehow. Maybe a team like Atlanta that has some cap space and a lot of young players.
I don't think they could get enough value for Embiid. That's the problem. That's why I don't think that's the guy to trade. I think you get more value for Simmons, or not more value for Simmons, but like you could get a better return on value for Simmons.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's cover this last game. You had the Mavericks winning. We got to preview this Blazers game. Did a little longer on the whole Philadelphia thing, but we freelance.
We like to talk NBA.
Yeah. You had the Mavericks winning 127 to 114. Luka Doncic had 28 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, shot 8 for 17 from the field, shot 4 for 7 from the three-point line. Had only 1 turnover after having 11 turnovers in Game 1, so that's a dramatic improvement. I think this was a better game from Luka Doncic. He only played 28 minutes. He had 5 personal fouls. He only played 28 minutes, and they won by 13. That's pretty impressive. You had Porzingis, who's been playing well. He had 23 points on 13 shots. You had Tim Hardaway with 17 as well. Trey Burke, who I'm kind of getting frustrated we didn't pick him up because he could be playing instead of Hazonia right now and actually be helping us. He's been great. He shot 7 for 11 from the field and had 16 points.
Yep.
That was a guy you tossed out there.
Yeah. I definitely wanted him. I thought he would not... I haven't given up on Ant, unlike a lot of people, but in this situation where we needed to win every game, I felt like we needed a veteran point guard maybe instead of like a G League point guard and Ant and stuff like that. And we're finding out we probably needed a backup big too, but that's another story. We'll get into the injury news of the day later, but Trey Burke was also the guy who was waived by Philadelphia earlier in the year, and I had a way to have factored him into the Scal trade where we saved the exact same amount of money but picked up an additional roster player to fill out our roster while still saving the same amount of money instead of complaining about having to trade Scal and then not being able to fill that roster spot because the money then would cancel out what they saved in this Scal trade.
I'm so confused. So confused.
Well, do you want me to explain it real quick?
We've already taken a lot of time with this box score. But that was a guy that we had multiple opportunities to get, let's just say that, and we didn't.
Yep.
Would definitely be helpful. You wouldn't be airballing pull-up threes, so I'm just, it's frustrating that Mario has to play right now. So it would have been nice to go out and get a Trey Burke. Everybody would say we need a wing. It's like, no, we need maybe a backup guard or a big. Like, we don't need a wing right now. I don't feel like, that, but that's what everybody wanted. But the reason why I said no to explain that is because I feel like we're going to talk a lot about this certain player. So rounding out the Mavericks, you had Seth Curry, 6 for 9 from the field, 1 for 3 from three-point line. He had 15. Boban in 10 minutes had 13 points. He was kind of eating them up when he was in there. So just a well-rounded
that guy's hilarious.
Boban.
He was the TNT interview after the game.
Really?
And he was like talking about how nervous he was and stuff because it was like one of his first times doing something like that. And yeah, it was funny.
I love Boban.
That guy's hilarious. His like Bobby videos and stuff.
Yeah, Boban's a character, man.
That's why Tobias sucks this year. He doesn't have Bobby with him.
True.
Toby and Bobby.
That's where Philadelphia went wrong. The Clippers were led by 35 from Kawhi. He had 35, 10 rebounds, couple assists, 10 for 21 from the field. They had 23 from Lou Williams off the bench. Lou Williams played well. Other than that, Reggie Jackson, he hit he got hot for a stretch there. Kind of kept him in the game in the first half, hitting some threes. But the problem I've always had with Reggie Jackson, he's just not a smart player whatsoever. So he's not a guy that you want as a role player in the playoffs because he makes a lot of boneheaded plays. And even if he shoots the ball and gets hot like he did today, he'll take some bad shots. He'll turn over the ball. He'll ISO too much, and he's just not a guy that you want as a role player there. And the thing is, a lot of times he doesn't get hot like this, you know? This is like kind of the best type of game he'll have. It's still from him. A lot of other games he just gets cold and compounds all the other issues he has. So I don't really like his fit on that team. He started for them because they didn't have Pat Beverly. That definitely hurt him. You had 14 from Marcus Morris, and then the guy that we haven't really talked about, Paul George, 4 for 17 from the field, 2 for 10 from the three-point line, had 14 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, negative 13. Why is Paul George talking all that trash just to come into the playoffs and play like this?
Okay. I'm going to go off on Paul George for a minute. He is not a star. And this is why. It's not because he had a bad game in the playoffs. But if you saw his post-game interview,
yeah,
he had his shirt off, barely over one shoulder, huge exaggerated ice pack on his other shoulder in the press conference. What other stars do that crap? He's so soft, so weak. This guy is a fraud. He blamed, like, Damian Lillard had broken ribs in the Western Conference Finals. You did not hear him once complain about it or say, like, oh, my ribs hurt. Oh, I can't do anything out there. Like, it's my ribs. Paul George is freaking when him and Dame are going back and forth, he's like, oh, I've had 2 surgeries in the offseason, bro. That's why I suck in the playoffs. Whatever, man. You just suck because you're not a star and you can't lead your team to shit. And you know what? Like, screw you, Paul George. Don't talk crap. Don't be like that. If you're not gonna step up and take some responsibility when you play like ass in a playoff game, like, that's such a disgrace to the game of basketball, dude. Like, screw that guy. That's how I really feel.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Is game 1, he was struggling, and I said, in the first half, and I said, waiting for the PG has an injured blank, which will require off-season surgery report at halftime. I tweeted that out. Now he's sitting there with an ice pack on his shoulder.
I joked about that too. If they lost the series, I said he would show up with an ice pack after these games, and then like, I think he is such a weak-minded fool that even if he wasn't hurt, he would have a surgery in the offseason if they lost, just so he could say he had to have surgery and then be like, see, you can't say anything about it. I had to have surgery. Like, that's how petty he is. Mm-hmm. Like, he would actually, like, go through a surgery that he didn't have to have just so he could, like, say he had to have a 3rd surgery in 3 years or whatever.
Yeah, but he's a surgery survivor, man. He survived so much hardship as an NBA player, bro. Oh, my goodness. I did not see that with the ice pack, man. God, come on, man. That's whack. Like, I ain't gonna sit here and say he's not a star because, like, his regular season performances and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I get.
I'm just saying he's a good player, but if that's your, obviously he had to team up with Kawhi and he had to team up with Westbrook and whatever. But like, if you're a star player, like, he could not do what Dame's doing with this Blazer team. Like, not even close. He could not lead a team to this. I know he did well with the Pacers in the Eastern Conference, but he's also the reason why that team deteriorated and blew apart and didn't ever get the job done in the playoffs as well, because he was banging his centers, his woman and stuff, and like, he's just I mean, those kind of guys are not winners. They're like, screw that. And then on top of that, you're going to talk crap to a guy like Damian Lillard. Like, screw you, man.
So I quote tweeted that original tweet I had with the picture of him with the ice pack and said, and there it is. And there it is, man. Yeah, he's becoming a guy that people just do not respect, and it's funny to watch. Like perform. Yeah. He can't perform like that, right? He needs to perform better for them. If he performs like this throughout the series, they could lose in the first round, and he will get absolutely obliterated if they lose in the first round, right? Because the stars...
Kawhi's playing well.
Yeah, and the thing is, Kawhi, his he didn't really lead the Spurs, but he led the Raptors to a championship last year. So he's proven.
Finals MVP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 2 Finals MVPs.
Yep.
He's proven that he can lead a team to a championship. He's proven everything, basically. So, and he had 35 points tonight on 10 for 21. It's a good game. He's not going to get the blame because he's proven things and he's playing good basketball right now, right? So all the blame is going to be on Paul George, especially if he plays like this. Even if he plays better, all the blame will go to Paul George. Especially if, he's pulling stuff like the ice pack and he's hurt and, watch, next game he'll like shoot a 3 and miss and he'll start like working out his shoulder and stuff like that. But then the ones he makes, he'll be fine and he'll, act like there's nothing wrong with him.
Just like in Game 3 against us, he didn't wince once and was like doing a double pump reverse jam at the end of that game and celebrating like they won the championship. And then the next game he misses a 3 right off the bat and he's like, "Oh, my shoulder again."
Yeah, it's whack, man. It's whack. That guy, I don't know, man. Like it's just so stupid.
Why did Kawhi want to team up with him? He could have like teamed up with anyone.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
But I think the memes are hilarious with like someone like calling the hotline or pretending to call the hotline. It's like Kawhi like, "Hey, I just saw Paul George not wearing the mask." No, like why would I lie? I never talk. Like, or you saw like LeBron ones last night. Like, yeah, KCP's not wearing his mask. Like he needs to get kicked out of the bubble or something. Like,
yeah.
Like calling on your own teammates because they suck. And that'd be funny.
Oh man. Just love watch. I don't know, the travesty there. It's funny to watch. I feel bad for the Clippers fan who's like we follow on Twitter now, who's like rooting hardcore for us, and we're like laughing at his team. It's funny, but hey, a lot of people.
Well, that guy thinks he could take us in basketball. And he's like 5'6".
Oh yeah, I mean that's just that's a joke to me. I don't even take that seriously. No guy 5'6" could take me unless their name is like Earl Boykins or something, so anyway, yeah, Javo, if you're in here, yeah, no, you couldn't, man. You couldn't. He ain't in here though, I don't think. Anyway, we got a preview. This Lakers Blazers game 2. We got to preview it. I don't even know where to start with this preview, right? Like I think the thing that I'm thinking about the most is what adjustments could the Lakers make in Game 2?
Well, I think what's going to play out is that LeBron is going to try to take over the game.
Mm-hmm.
And AD, when in stretches, is going to try to take over the game. And I have a feeling that they're going to not trust their teammates.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, their teammates were horrible, but it's not like LeBron and AD shot extremely well that game either. So, but we've talked about this a lot with the ball movement on the Blazers. So the point of ball movement isn't always to get an assist. We see that there are teams that are good at getting assists that aren't necessarily good overall, mm-hmm. and teams that are bad doing assists but like are still good. But just touching the ball and having players feel like they're part of the offense is very helpful, because you have a guy like Trent last night who touched the ball several possessions in a row. And even though he missed those threes, because he got the ball, it wasn't like he didn't touch the ball for like 10 minutes and then all of a sudden he touches it and is like, "Oh crap, I'm open, I have to shoot. Like if I don't make this, LeBron's going to kill me."
Yeah.
And so the more those two try to take over, even if they like both score like 40 points tomorrow, mm-hmm. the rest of the team is going to kind of feel the pressure mounting on having to perform and helping LeBron. And that's, as great as LeBron is, that's part of the problem with playing with someone that great, that there's so much pressure on, if you don't win a championship, it's a failure. Because every shot you take, you have to have that in the back of your mind, thinking, if I miss this, LeBron's going to be mad at me, and I'm going to maybe cost him a championship or whatever. And that stuff, the more LeBron doesn't trust you and doesn't pass to you when you're wide open, then the next time down the court, it happens again. and then you start to feel like, oh crap, he hates me, he doesn't trust me right now. And then if you get the ball like later in the game in a clutch situation, you're not going to make that shot in most cases because you're feeling the pressure and you're not confident and you have barely gotten in the flow of the game and stuff. So I actually think it might be a good thing if they just try to take over this game, as long as we don't, obviously we don't want them to both score like 50 on like 60% shooting or something like that. Yeah. But if we can kind of limit them scoring wise, but also let them just kind of take over and monopolize a lot of the possessions and stuff, I think that might be a good strategy for us.
If LeBron is trying to attack and trying to get his own and shying away from making the extra pass, which he normally makes, take charges. Get that guy in foul trouble. If you can get 2 fouls on him in the first quarter, that's a really, really good thing. Like I don't know. I would rather be down 5 at the end of the first quarter and have LeBron have 2 or 3 fouls than to be tied and have him have none. You know what I mean? Like, if you can get LeBron in foul trouble because he's being too aggressive and, like, he's not a guy like Dame who, when Dame gets aggressive, he starts shooting a bunch of threes and, like, weaving around guys, right? LeBron is a guy who just goes hard, goes downhill, attacks the paint. And he's the type of guy that, like, can finish through contact and finish plays, right? And he can stop on a dime. Like, you might not be able to pick up charges, but if you can, if the opportunity is there, pick up charges. If you are, you could have some place where you could have a guy trying to take charges and then a shot blocker right behind them ready to try and block his shot. There was a couple possessions where I thought, in game 1, where I thought that guys could have maybe taken charges, and those were plays where, like, Whiteside was around the area too and able to be a presence as well. I don't know. I would just love to try and get LeBron in foul trouble.
Yeah, the problem is you just agreed with this last game, but those block charge calls, I think they're going to call blocks every time, even if it's obvious.
That was LeBron taking the charge.
No, I know, but I just don't think they're going to call LeBron for more than like one offensive foul in a game, no matter how many times he commits.
I don't know what you saw, because that was 100. Like, in my mind, that was like 1,000% a charge on Whiteside. I'm so confused. Like, because LeBron had planted his feet before Whiteside even took his last step.
LeBron, his whole right foot was still moving. And when Whiteside turned, LeBron initiated all the contact with his movement into him. Like, Whiteside barely even moved forward, and LeBron was the one moving into him. Yeah, I just think that's you have
his right foot can be sliding because the right foot, like, I'm not saying was trailing behind.
You said his feet were set, but they weren't.
Like, his left foot was set. Like, the right foot was like sliding a little bit behind him, but that wasn't like his lead foot where he's sliding over trying to get in his front. He had already planted his like lead foot, so he already was in that spot. He already beat Whiteside to the spot.
Even though his left foot was set, his whole body was still moving, and his right foot was moving with his body, and he's the one who bumped into LeBron. So if you were looking down at his left foot only, yes, it would be a charge, but the rest of his body was still moving towards Whiteside.
He beat him to the spot in my mind. He easily beat him to the spot. I don't know. It's weird how much. I don't know. I'm just surprised. Like, because from what I saw, like, LeBron beat him to the spot. Yes, he might have been sliding a little bit, might have like leaned a little, but it's, for me, it's like, who got to the spot first? And LeBron definitely got to the spot first, and Whiteside definitely went into him.
It doesn't matter now.
I thought it should have been a no call, to be honest. I thought it should have been a no call. Right? But, like, if it was going to be a block or a charge, it should have been a charge. But that play doesn't mean that they're not going to call charges against LeBron. Like, yeah, they might not call charges against LeBron, but I don't think you can say that play shows that they're not. Because, like, one, LeBron was on defense. Two, I think it was a pretty...
I think that's insane to go into a thing just hoping to get LeBron to commit charges.
No, you don't completely sell out for a charge. If it's there, instead of, like, a guy like Melo trying to block him at the rim, try and take the charge. If it's there, if the opportunity presents itself. Because, like, Carmelo ain't gonna, if Carmelo's a help side defender, Carmelo is not going to stop LeBron from scoring at the rim anyway. So, if you can beat him to the spot and take a charge, that could be a good thing.
the weird thing is LeBron didn't really get to the rim on Melo. It was mostly when Trent
it
was
could
on
be
him. So
the guards or whoever. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to stop LeBron at the rim. So I'm not saying sell out. I'm saying if the opportunity is there and LeBron is just putting his head down time and time again and like getting to the rim, might as well try and take a charge. If you can get a charge on him and then get him to commit a defensive foul on the other end of the first quarter, he has 2 fouls in the first quarter. He might have to sit for longer. And they are a much worse team without him on the floor. Like that could completely swing the game if you take a charge on him on one possession. You know what I mean? Like that can completely swing the whole entire first half. So if he's going into like, oh, I'm just going to go downhill constantly and take over this game mode, I think there will be opportunities to take charges.
I agree with Jake. Even if you draw a charge or two, he's not getting pulled. Dude averages less than 2.5 fouls per 100 possessions for his career.
But
like, he doesn't foul.
If he has 3 fouls in the first half and he's playing at the end of the first half, he's probably not going to.
That never happens. Like he's too good to have that happen. Like he just does not do that. He's not a big that gets in foul trouble a lot. He rarely is ever in foul trouble in games. Well, I'd be interested to see how many games he's actually fouled out of in his career.
How many fouls did he have last game? I'm curious. He had 1 foul last game. I mean, yes, he doesn't get into foul trouble. But still, I honestly think if you're a guard, you're not going to stop him, so you might as well try and take a charge. And this is if he like just attacks the rim every possession. If you can get a charge and then maybe they call a ticky-tack foul, that's 2 fouls in the first quarter. Like, if they play him...
ticky-tack foul on LeBron in the playoffs, yeah.
They called one on him last game, I thought, and they call one on. I don't know, man. Like, I'm not of the mindset that like, oh, LeBron is just allergic to ever picking up a foul ever in the playoffs.
I agree with that completely. I hate people who say like, oh, like he'll get the superstar calls or whatever, but he's the type of player that you cannot get into foul trouble. Like, even if he gets a couple, he will not get into foul. He will not commit.
Impossible.
But
I don't think it's impossible.
Dude, there was a game in Portland this year where Anthony Tolliver didn't even frickin' touch him. Like, LeBron's foot kicked Tolliver, barely scraped his leg as it went by, and that was still called a foul after review on Anthony Tolliver. And that was like the most phantom call of all time in the history of the NBA. I still don't
think it's it was ridiculous. I still don't think it's impossible to get him, if he's being that aggressive, right? If he is being that aggressive offensively and just continuously trying to attack every single possession, I don't think it's impossible. And honestly, I think taking the charge is like the best thing. If a guard is like the guy helping over, I think that might be the best like method of defense that like a Melo or a Dame or a CJ can do if they're helping onto a LeBron drive.
This might be better for us, but if he picks up a couple early fouls, he would stop being crazy on his drives. He would not pick up another offensive foul. He would just settle for jumpers or mid-range and stuff like that. But
that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, it's not like... I don't think that trying to take some charges against LeBron if he goes in that mode will make us, like, any worse defensively. I don't think that's, like, a bad move defensively, depending on who it is. Like, Whiteside, I'd rather Whiteside just try and block his shot. But I'm talking about, like, other players on the court. I think that's might be the best thing to try and do defensively because it's going to be hard to stop him anyway. If you're rotating over like Dame, LeBron is so explosive and so strong and such a good finisher through contact. Like, what are you going to do if you're Dame, CJ, Melo? Like, the only thing you can really do if you're a help side guy rotating onto a LeBron drive is try and take a charge. And maybe you get lucky and get a couple calls, and then LeBron is settling for jumpers and not attacking the same way, and maybe he's not defending quite as hard and being quite as handsy. I don't know. Like, I don't think that's like there's any downside to trying that.
I think you said the perfect word is lucky. And in a game like this where I think we can win outright, I don't like having to try and have a strategy where
what's the downside,
involves in luck involved.
But like, I get that if there's downside, but what's the downside if you're a guy like Melo, Dame, CJ rotating over onto a LeBron?
And he thrives off that, and if he sees a guy flopping, he's just going to score on that guy because they're not going to call it.
But what else is CJ, Dame, and Melo going to do if they're the help side guy and LeBron already has a head of steam?
I don't know. We played him pretty well last game.
Yeah, I mean, like, we didn't really let him drive, and our bigs played him well. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying our bigs should be trying to take charges, right? Our bigs should be trying to meet him at the rim, because our bigs last game met him at the rim really well. I'm not saying everybody on the court should try and take a charge. I'm saying if you're like a guy like Dame, CJ, or Melo, and you have the opportunity to maybe try and take a charge on LeBron drive when it's your help side responsibility based on the setup of the floor, what's the downside of that? You know what I mean? They're not going to stop him anyway, and our bigs, you know, can be the people that try and match him at the rim.
The downside is they'll call blocking fouls, and then he's strong enough to finish anyway, so he'll get ones, and it'll completely change the momentum.
I think if you beat him to the spot, I don't think
by like 30.
I don't, bro. I do not buy the stuff about how they will just never ever call a charge on him. I don't buy that.
And then that also, like Jared Houston said, opens up kick out opportunities. So if anyone gets
you don't want to like help from the wrong spot, right? I'm saying just if the opportunity is there.
Yeah, I mean,
if the right opportunity is there.
But like you're saying, like get him into foul trouble and change the complexity of the game, which does not happen with LeBron. Like it's like a strategy that does not work against.
I'm not saying you should, bro. I'm saying if the right opportunity is there and it's the right defensive play, why not? You know, because there's no downside if you're a guy and it's like Dame's help side responsibility. Yeah. Like, you're not going to be able to do anything other than take a charge anyway.
But that's maybe any player on any team we play.
Yeah, true.
Like if you have an opportunity to take a charge,
I'm just saying there will probably be more of those opportunities if he goes into the mode where he just constantly drives and constantly goes at the rim, like, you know, possession after possession after possession. Like, there will be more of those opportunities. So maybe you can get a call or two. And maybe that can change the complexion of the first half and change, you know, get him to be less aggressive driving to the rim if he picks up a charge call. And then maybe, you know, they'll call ticky-tack fouls on anybody. You know, like less obviously they have their biases towards stars like LeBron, but I don't think LeBron is immune. So I'm just saying if it's the right defensive play, if it's the right opportunity, these guys should be trying to take charges, you know, and against LeBron, Melo, CJ, Dame, Gary Trent Jr., those guys, you know. Gary Trent Jr., if LeBron's backing down the post, I don't think Gary Trent Jr. can stop him. So if LeBron lowers his shoulder, maybe you sell some contact and flop and see if they call it. Because like a guy like Gary Trent Jr., when he was guarding LeBron the post, he wasn't really able to do anything anyway, right? So that type of thing, like maybe something happens. Like I just don't think the upside is LeBron might pick up 2-3 fouls in the first half. The downside, I don't think there is much downside if it's not, you know.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on to something else. I get you. Let's move on.
All right.
Let's not talk about taking charges for like.
Yeah, I just absolutely hate the narrative that like they're not going to call a charge on him.
I didn't say they wouldn't call a charge.
That's what
I'm just saying it won't matter because he's not going to get into foul trouble. So, yeah.
I mean, when you're playing 44 minutes a game, you never rule it out. That's all I'm going to say on that. That's my ending point on that. If he gets 3 fouls in the first half, I am going to be so hyped and say I told you so. But he probably won't. But if he does,
all right, cool.
I'm going to say I told you so. Anyway, so LeBron is going to try and attack. What other adjustments do you think they might make?
I am expecting to see a Quinn Cook or J.R. Smith or Dion Waiters get an opportunity in this game. Don't know if that's a good thing for us or a bad thing. Probably, you could probably make the case. I also think I think his name was Russ, was asking about the big lineup, and this is actually a good team to have. We're really lucky. So in case you guys missed it today, Zach will be reevaluated in a week. So that means he is out for sure this game and games 3 and 4. We don't know how much longer he'll be out other than just reevaluated in a week. So maybe back by game 5. So we're pretty much having to go to the big 2-man lineup, which actually played pretty well together last game. So I think what their adjustment would be, if I was LA, would be to put AD at the 5 more and just have a quicker lineup out there and try to combat our big lineup with quicker guys around the perimeter. So we'll see if that works out for them. Obviously, if their secondary players are struggling to shoot open threes, it's not going to matter what our lineup looks like or what their lineup looks like. But if they're constantly beating us and getting open looks and canning threes because we have a big lineup out there, it could cause a problem.
Yeah. The one good thing about...
I know AD doesn't like playing the 5, but like he will play it. It's not like he's like, oh, I won't play at the 5. It's not.
But the one good thing about that is we wouldn't have to play, like, if you combine Wenyon's, Whiteside's, and Nurkic's minutes, you wouldn't have to play that combination quite as much, because you could run Gary Trent Jr. and Melo at the 3 and 4 more if they play AD at the 5 and go small. So the thing that I'm worried about without Zach Collins is like, okay, what if Gabriel, Whiteside, and Nurkic all get into foul trouble, right? Yeah. If they play AD a lot at the 4, like you kind of got to run 2 big lineups, so just those 3 guys in total have to play more minutes, so it makes that more of an issue. So if they do move AD to the 5, you don't quite have to worry about that quite as much. I would honestly like to see what a small lineup of Dame, CJ, Trent, Melo, and Gabriel would look like. That could be fun, I think, and just have them run. Gabriel runs the court well, and Gabriel is active. Honestly, I think if they play AD at the 5, like we could go small and play Gabriel at the 5, and I think Gabriel is our best matchup against AD. The thing is, Gabriel picks up fouls, but
one of our worst problems in game 1 though was defensive rebounding, and that with that small of a lineup, I would be worried about the rebounding.
But like we're just matching them going small, so I don't think it should be worse, right? Like if you take out JaVale and Nurkic, right, and put in, I don't know, who would they throw in there? Kuzma, and we throw in Trent. Like Kuzma's not a good rebounder. Like the rebounding is kind of a wash compared to the starting lineup.
But AD would get a lot more rebounds, I think, without a center in the lineup. And LeBron's a good rebounder as well.
Yeah.
He doesn't go in for as many offensive rebounds, but I'd just be worried about that, going small and matching them. Because, we've talked about not being able to take advantage of our size in a lot of games. So, like, I kind of just want to pound them and get easy baskets and punish them for going small. But yeah, it would be interesting to see that lineup. I agree, that would be fun. I just don't know.
AD hurt us on the boards. He got 6 offensive rebounds. But other than that, you had JaVale McGee get 4 offensive rebounds in 13 minutes. You had Dwight Howard get 4 offensive rebounds in 15 minutes. So I think if they go small, neither of those guys are going to be in the game. Yes, AD is a problem, but like JaVale and Dwight Howard had 8 offensive rebounds combined in 28 minutes, right? So honestly, like AD, 6 offensive rebounds, 39 minutes. JaVale McGee plus Dwight Howard, 8 offensive rebounds in 28 minutes. I think those two were more of a problem on the boards than Anthony Davis. So if they go small, neither of those guys are in. Maybe, I don't think it would necessarily be worse. You would just have to have like Melo box out better. You'd have to have Gary Trent Jr. You just have to have those guys like crash and help out and that type of thing. It would be interesting to see.
It's been a weakness of ours all year.
Yeah,
that lineup.
I don't think it'd be worse. I'm not sold on it not being worse. Like I get why you would think it would definitely be worse because you don't really have that presence inside. It's just like JaVale and Dwight Howard killed us on the boards, and they're such good offensive rebounders that if they go small, I feel like we could match them and it wouldn't be any more of an issue than it is with both teams being big.
I feel like that 6 number for Anthony Davis would be double digits in that case. Because he's just too good to have Gabriel box him out every time, and we don't have enough good rebounders in the game around Gabriel. That's a lot of pressure. It's kind of like what happened with Scal most of the season, where our rebounding around Scal was so bad that like Scal isn't necessarily a bad rebounder, but like he's the only one like trying to box out a really good offensive rebounder, and then you have like no one else boxing out. So if Scal doesn't have the rebound bounce towards his side, it's really easy for the other team to get the ball. But I hope I'm wrong on that. I just kind of like playing to our advantage versus playing to whatever the other team is trying to accomplish.
I don't think he's gonna get 12 offensive rebounds. I think that might be a little high. I
said double figures.
Oh, I thought you said double. I thought you said doubles amount. 10 is still very, very high. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, Gabriel has to box out, right? And I don't know. I think we should try that lineup to see if it can hang and if it can do a solid enough job on the glass. Because that's definitely a concern with that. But I don't know. It's like they killed us so much anyway. Like, would it really be worse? And the flip side of that is like Nurkic and Whiteside on AD, I think, is a worse matchup than Gabriel on AD. So maybe AD is getting more offensive, the offensive rebounding might be a little bit worse, but the matchup on AD is better, right? Like, it's a trade-off there.
It kind of depends, too, what AD's doing in this game, because if he's bricking threes like he was last game, I don't know if it's necessarily bad to have Nurk or Hassan on him, because then he plays more out on the perimeter and tries to take them from up top instead of, if he has Gabriel on him, he kind of goes down low and plays more to his strengths when he, like most of his points came inside the paint last game or on transition. So I kind of want him to continue struggling from the field. We talked about this in the post-game show, how our game plan got him a little frazzled on what we're going to do. Is unpredictable, like we've been asking for. And I hope we continue to do that, like send different looks at him, have different defenders guarding him, defend him in different ways. And hopefully he's frazzled and misses a bunch of those threes like he did last game. Because if he gets hot from the outside, I don't think it's going to matter who's on him. But yeah, we just got to hope that our game plan holds up as well as it did last game. Yeah. And it's not going to hold them to 93 points. They're going to score more than that. So we need to do better on offense too, which we can talk about, I guess.
Well, I just wanted to touch on AD and his outside shot. Yeah. I have a feeling he's going to hit at least 3 threes in this game. Yeah. I don't know why. I have like a gut feeling he's going to hit at least. He's going to go like 3 for 5 from the 3-point line. Like, we left him so open last game, and he is a good enough shooter to make teams pay. Like, that's not really like his main strength, so you can, a lot of teams want him shooting threes. But the thing is, you also want to like at least get a contest up, because he is a good enough shooter where if he's just left completely wide open, he's going to drain some. I have the feeling he's going to hit at least 3 threes in this game, and they're all going to be like no contest on the shot. Yep. And it's going to mess us up. And it's going to be in like the middle. He's going to hit like 1 or 2 in the middle of like a huge Lakers run at some point. And
then we'll revert back to our old defense and not do anything that worked in the first game. Yeah.
Hopefully not, but it's like the rotations need to be better. The closeouts need to be better. The contest needs to be better, right? The thing is, our rotations were solid last game, but if we continue to switch up the looks and run different looks all series long, our rotation should improve just because we're getting more and more reps, right? So we should be able to like tweak things a little bit, and hopefully, if AD hits a couple threes, hopefully we're able to get out on him and not let it become like a barrage, because like he's had games this year where he's hit 3-4 threes. I mean, and the thing is, if he's hitting those, you can't just keep giving them to him. So that's something you gotta adjust to. So it'll be interesting to see how he shoots. I hope he shoots over 5 again. I just have a gut feeling like he's going to hit like 3 threes, and then we're going to have to get out on him, and then he's going to start like taking our bigs off the dribble, right? Because we'll have AD at the 5 and like Nurkic or Whiteside at the 5, and Whiteside won't be getting out, right? AD hits a couple threes, and Whiteside tries to get out, and AD just takes him off the dribble. Like that, I'm worried about that.
I'm actually okay with that as long as we adjust to it, because we talked about this before game 1, where it's almost like you want LeBron to prove that he's going to shoot. You want a guy like AD who's had some good games or bad games to see if he's hot that game or not. So if he gets a couple wide open threes and he hits them, then you adjust your defense. But if he gets a couple of those wide open threes again, because a couple of his threes last game were wide open, and he actually like had all day to shoot and probably took too much time thinking about it before he shot them. But if he misses a couple of those right off the bat, then we can continue to play that kind of style, just leave him open, and he's going to struggle from the outside, and that might, like we talked about with the pressure, it just keeps building and building. So if they struggle shooting from the outside off the bat in this game, and we're on fire and come out with a big first quarter, they might start to doubt themselves again. And it's so sad they don't have the fans to pump them up. I don't know if you heard about this after the game, but both LeBron and AD were talking about how hard it is to play without fans, man. That's why they lost game 1. So yeah, they don't have the fans to pump them up, so just keep 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 the pressure on them, man.
Yeah. Malcolm, how is me? Wait, if I say AD is gonna hit like three threes this game, wouldn't me jinxing that be a good thing? Like,
I think he's saying you're jinxing our good defense, maybe, but I don't know.
how it?
But
Wait,
yeah,
how is
it's
saying?
not really
But
jinxing it, but yeah.
but if I say he's gonna do well, then a jinx would mean I am because I'm saying it. It's not going to happen, right? Isn't that like how? I don't know. Like, cause yeah, I don't know. Like, bro, I'm not as superstitious as I used to be. The whole you're jinxing it. Like, just because I say it's gonna happen doesn't mean anything. Like, AD ain't watching this, and if he is, I doubt that me saying that he's gonna make threes is going to make him get threes. You know, let's just be honest. But if I'm jinxing, I hope I'm jinxing it. I'm not gonna knock on wood. I hope I'm jinxing him into going 0 for 5 again. That is what I'm trying to do. That is why I made the prediction in the first place. But I don't know. Like,
he's a better shooter than Aaron Baines, and we gave up 9 threes to him
exactly.
in a game. So I'm not that confident that he's not going to go off at some point in this series. But yeah.
But here's the thing. Yes, it could be a carbon copy of last game if they struggle from 3, right? But then, like, what is there even to preview? Like, oh, we're just going to see the same game, you know? So I'm trying to think about, like, okay, what could they change in terms of like a tactical approach, because they are going to make adjustments. They are going to do something different tomorrow. It's kind of hard to predict it, right? Doing a game 3 preview would be easier because we could talk about like, okay, this is what they adjusted in game 2 and this is what we need to do to counter it, you know what I mean? But we haven't seen, like, it's game 1 is kind of like the game where you just see what it looks like, and then going into game 2, you start making adjustments. So we have to see what they're going to do. I expect something different. I expect them to maybe try and get out and run more. I expect them to maybe run a lot more LeBron and AD pick and roll. I do expect that. I expect them to run it and just see how our pick and roll defense looks and see how it see what we're doing on that end and see if we're actually like really switching it up. Because the thing is, they didn't run much pick and roll, so it's like, yes, it seemed like we were kind of switching things up on pick and rolls, but also it's like, okay, if they ran a bit more, would we have continued switching things up that much? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
So I expect them to kind of run more pick and roll. If their outside shooters are struggling, I expect them to just put maybe LeBron and AD on one side of the floor and run pick and roll. And like, yes, we can help off their mediocre shooters and like overload that side of the floor, but also LeBron and AD are so physically dominant that they could score on multiple people. You know what I mean? So they could still potentially have some success with a side pick and roll. So I do expect that.
But that's why I would just keep going under the picks on LeBron. Make sure he doesn't get a full head of steam. Cut him off. Don't let him get like enough space to where he's dribbling into you. But go under the pick, get through it. If he pulls up for a 3 in that split second, that's fine. If not, like, you're still in good position. You still have a handout on AD if they pop out, or if he goes and posts up, you still have the big on him. I just really like that strategy and make them try to counteract that versus because if they're not hitting threes, they're screwed. So I would just keep doing that until it stops working, and then of course you have to like throw different looks at them. But yeah, as long as those guys are struggling, just keep doing it.
You know what would be smart for them to do? I might break out the clipboard here real quick. It would be smart of them to run.
Oh, wait, someone just said Anthony Davis was watching this at 3 a.m, so be careful. We don't want to give him any ideas. I'm just kidding.
Oh man. What would be smart of them to do? Would be. I still need to update the damn clipboard, but whatever. Did not want it to do that. Okay. What would be smart of them to do? Let me make sure it's on the screen and everything for you guys. I gotta adjust it. And slide it. Cool. Alright. There we go. What would be smart of them to do? They're just going to be blue, right? Let's just get LeBron in here. Let's get JaVale in here. Let's get AD in here. If you have, Melo or whoever on LeBron, and we're going under screens, like AD screens, LeBron's coming off and we're going under, what would be smart of them to do is to bring in a second screener.
Yeah.
And let's say LeBron is going from here this way off the screen, right? And you got Melo going under. This power forward is probably going to be sagging, right? Because you got LeBron coming off here and Melo's going under, so this power forward doesn't really need to help if Melo goes under, whoever's guarding LeBron. What would be smart is to have JaVale or somebody get beneath Melo, and LeBron could turn the corner and attack like that. Because if Melo's going under, right, LeBron has nobody on the ball. He can build up a head of steam going laterally here, and then if they're able to pick off Melo, like get beneath Melo, like Melo can't go under the screen, there's going to be contact there. LeBron's already has a head of steam here. He can turn the corner, and then maybe you have either JaVale, or whoever, like if Nurkic comes over, JaVale already has like Melo in front of him, and this power forward's probably guarding the power forward. This could be a lob threat to JaVale if the center has to come over and help. Or maybe with the confusion, AD can roll to the rim or something like that. Just with the Blazers running multiple pick and roll schemes and not being too like set in them, it could create confusion if the Lakers decide to bring up a second screener into this mix. It could create some confusion with the Blazers pick and roll defense. But if Melo's going under screens, I think it would be smart for LA to try and bring a second screener to get behind Melo, to get beneath Melo, to pick him off, and then like LeBron is able to build up a head of steam and create going downhill. What do you think of that?
Yep, that's always a good strategy to counteract it. Another thing, too, is Houston, when they had Dwight Howard and James Harden, they were unstoppable in the 0.9 Dame series when they ran the pick and roll between Harden and Dwight, like inside the 3-point line. They would clear out one side and just run the pick and roll almost to the like block. Yeah. and like there was nothing we could do to stop it, because if you switched, Dwight just rolled and had a lob dunk. If you like fought through it, Harden had enough space to shoot like a 5-foot runner, and like we could not stop it, and for some reason they just like didn't run it very much. Like it's always baffling to me when teams like don't run things enough that just like kill another team. Like so varying the spots where you do it, so you're not setting the pick above the 3-point line, so LeBron's getting like mid-range jumpers versus 3-point shots might be a good strategy as well.
I expect them to maybe use AD as like an off-ball mover a bit more, because it seemed like most of AD's touches came just like with him at a standstill, either in the post or on the perimeter. I think they could maybe throw in wrinkles with like backdoor lob sets, or cross screens for him, back screens for him, and use him more as like a cutter, especially if like Whiteside or Nurkic is on AD, if AD is the small ball 5, and maybe has hit a 3 or something, so Nurkic and Whiteside have to kind of get out on him, and then you run some back screens for AD, and he's so athletic, like that could be a problem. I expect them to have some sort of offensive wrinkles that kind of get LeBron or AD in just a better position than they were in game 1, right? Because they can't really rely on anybody else. So I expect them to try and throw in wrinkles like that to try and help LeBron and AD get easy buckets inside and get, better looks inside. Because the thing is, our bigs were a brick wall at the rim for the most part in game 1. So if you can play AD at the 5 and get a guy like Nurkic guarding AD out of the paint, and then Nurkic gets back screened, then you really have nobody inside there. Maybe you have Gabriel with the 4 still, but if you have like Melo at the 4, since they go in small and we match, then that could open up the interior for them. So I expect some sort of wrinkles like that. They're going to throw something different at us. Vogel's a smart enough coach to switch things up a little bit. It'll be interesting to see if they switch things up defensively, but they were doing like the prototypical trap. So I don't know on that end. I expect them to do more offensively, though, since that's where they struggled the most in the first game.
Towards the end of the game, they were doing that trap where it's almost like a zone where they have like 3 guys above the 3-point line. Obviously, the top guy has to be out on Dame as soon as he crosses half court. but like they were just waiting to see like where he went, and then that guy, whatever guy was on that side, would go towards it. So
Sorry, I just saw something.
read
I
chat.
just no, I just I swear I go on Twitter for like 5 seconds and I saw that. Oh my goodness. Should have photoshopped more bags of ice just all the way around him.
Really high, like going off the camera.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
awesome. He's gonna have like 47 surgeries.
I'm tweeting that
like,
picture.
Every body part needs a surgery because he. But as the game went on, they were pushing those 3 players out further and further and further until the end. And we kind of did well once it got to a certain point on the floor where it was too far. So I'm hoping that they try to trap Dame from the beginning of the game in that way, because I think Dame is the type of person who, at this point, will not try to like force it too much himself. He'll just make the right pass, and we should be able to combat that. But yeah, let's. I hope we can combat it. But
Yep.
I feel like they don't have the guard defenders. Obviously, if Rondo plays in this game, that changes things a little bit. But other than him, they don't have the guard defenders to properly trap Dame, to like take him completely out of the game. So I kind of want them to do that in the beginning of the game, because then towards the end of the game, if we're destroying it, they'll have to go out of it more, and that will free up Dame in the fourth quarter to have Dame time. And so yeah, it's like it's kind of weird to say that I kind of want them to start out trapping, but I feel like with Melo and CJ, Nurk, like we have enough players to combat that if we make the right pass and not like play right into the traps.
Yep, it will be interesting to see what they do tomorrow. We will, both of us, I assume, will kind of point out stuff they're doing differently on Twitter, so that's where you can get your in-depth analysis during the game tomorrow, is through our Twitter accounts, which are below our faces, at Tori Jones YT for me, at Hoopshock for Eric.
And we'll be live right before the game.
Yeah, 5:30-ish. What I'm going to do for that is I'm going to have the draft lottery on the screen, like on my computer screen. I might try and get like something where I can have a second monitor and just not have it actually on my screen. But what I'm going to try and do is have the left like bar of the screen be, so it'd be like right here, I think. Yeah, it'd be like right here. That would be like the left bar that they have showing the picks and whatnot. I don't think I'll run into any copyright issues if it's just like the graphic part. And then maybe in like the top right corner, I'll have just a slim little window of where like the picks are being shown, you know, because he shows it on the desk, and just a very small window of that. I don't think I'll run into any copyright issues with that, because it's just the graphics, and then it's just the just a small window. So I'm going to try and do that with no audio, and I'll say, okay, I'll just say, this is the third pick, this is the second pick, whatever. The thing is, it'll be a bit delayed from cable, so anybody in here would need to be like watching it off of my stream instead of off of ESPN at the same time, so that they don't spoil, if that makes sense. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's cool. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
kind of hard to explain, but tell it.
Just a random little thing. But it would be a way where like we could watch it together, like on my stream. Like you could watch the draft lottery basically through my stream. You just wouldn't have the audio, but you could see like the pick, and you could see like the left ticker, because that shows like what teams move up and that type of stuff. And doing that graphically would be impossible, because I don't know. So I'd have to have like every situation somehow, and I wouldn't be able to do that. It'd take a ton of time. So
who do you want to get the first pick?
The top 4 picks, I want to be Eastern Conference teams.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
That's all I care about.
I kind of want the Knicks to win the lottery just so they take LaMelo Ball, because I think that would be kind of a mistake. But yeah, It'll be interesting. Yeah, like teams like New York, Detroit, Charlotte, Washington, Chicago. Yeah, if you see all those teams at the top, maybe not Atlanta because I don't want them to get too good.
I don't. Yeah, I don't care who wins, just as long as it's not like
Golden State or Minnesota.
Yeah, Golden State or Minnesota or San Antonio or something, or Phoenix, if you know, because Phoenix I think is like 11th, 10th. Phoenix would be with how good they played if they got like the number 1 pick. Yeah, no. So like the Western Conference teams, like I don't want the Western Conference teams to do well. So imagine if Phoenix got. Who would they take with the number 1 pick? Anthony Edwards, and then what? Do you play him in the backcourt with Devin Booker, and like Devin Booker's the point guard, or what do you do?
I don't know. Wiseman 8 would be interesting.
I don't think they'd fit well together either, though.
Yeah.
Like they would probably like. Well, would they take LaMelo number 1 since like a point guard is what they need? They don't need a shooting guard or a center, or do they? I mean, it would be smart of them to trade down to like 4 and then take like either LaMelo or Toppin. I think would be a really good fit there. Toppin would be fun there. I don't know. It would be interesting to see that. So like from just a fan perspective, it'd be interesting to see what Phoenix would do with like the number 1 overall pick. But from a Blazer fan perspective, hopefully they don't get it. But I will have some sort of setup tomorrow. I will set it up tonight. And you guys can come join us at 5:30. I might be looking to add a couple mods before then to help us in case people are spoiling the picks in chat because they're watching cable or something. We need, mods or something to time them out. I'm not sure. But hopefully whoever's watching it is just watching it based off our stream and not having ESPN play on cable in the background, which would be ahead of the stream, if that makes sense. Because I just don't want any spoilers. So,
yeah.
And I don't want people that are like watching it genuinely off our stream to have spoilers in the chat as well. So I will be frustrated if somebody does that. Trade down for Killian Hayes plus assets. That would be smart. That would be smart of them to do. I think Hayes would fit well with Booker. But yeah, this draft will be really interesting in general. So anyway, I will have the draft lottery tomorrow. We'll go live like probably like 5:30 because they take their time, and while they take their time, we'll preview the game a little bit more tomorrow on that draft lottery stream, just during commercials and stuff. We'll maybe talk about the action earlier in the day and that type of stuff.
It's nice it's not 2 hours long like normal.
True. Yeah. So anyway, we got that. We got the Blazers, game 2. Hopefully they go up 2-0. How amazing would that be? And then we got the post-game show after that game tomorrow. That is what we got on tap. Anything else left to touch on, Eric?
Nope, I think we got it.
All right, so I'm tuning out. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully we get that dub. Let's build on game 1, and let's try and give ourselves a real advantage. 1-1, man, that just makes it a 5-game series after that. 2-0, that's a pretty commanding lead. If we go 2-0, okay, question to end stream for chat and for you.
I was about to ask this, but I thought you wanted to get off.
What were you about to ask?
I was going to say, do you think we win this series if we win tomorrow night?
That I was going to say, what are the chances? Do the Blazers have a better than 50% chance of winning the series if they win tomorrow night? That's what I was going to ask.
I think so, yes. If we win tomorrow night, I think we have a better than 50% chance of winning the series. If we lose, it's going to be tough to win.
If we win, we have a 50% chance. I ain't going to go above that. I'll say it's a toss-up if we win tomorrow. Which, bro, would take that for sure. You know? If we lose, I'd say it's about 20%, 25% in that range. If we win, it's 50. Like, that's a big difference. I mean, every game counts the same, but I feel like this is like a pivotal game of the series. Like, we could either just have a ton of momentum into 2-0 lead, or it could be like, oh, brand new series, 5-game series, I feel like this is a crucial game. So,
yeah, just the way they're acting after game 1, I feel like if we can take game 2 too, they're just not strong mentally, and it's kind of like what we talked about with Paul George. Like, I just feel like the pressure is going to be insurmountable at some point if they continue to lose games.
And this season, for LeBron's legacy, is crucial. If he loses in the first round, that would be like something people would talk about for years. Oh, he came to the West, couldn't make the playoffs, and lost in the first round to an 8 seed. Like, that would be something people talk about for years. for years on Twitter. 20 years from now, that will be talked about. LeBron versus MJ versus whoever the new GOAT on the block is. Like we
Anthony
could.
Edwards. Just kidding. Just joking.
But no, like this is such like this is a historical series. I feel like just everything that's gone on this year, and then everything that's gone with the Lakers and Kobe passing and LeBron making the playoffs for the first time in the West. Like this is a very historical series that we're in, and the fact that we could pull it off and just completely just make history basically with this series if we take care of business, that's fun.
And like people are mentioning that just what it would do for Dame's legacy as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because if we win this series, I like us going up against OKC or Houston. And with the Clippers, they haven't looked too good, and Dallas is how we went. Like, I don't know, man. Like, if we win this series, we could really actually make the finals.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say to that is, so last year when we beat OKC, Dame had an amazing series, including a 50-point game winner in Game 5, and then people are still like, yeah, but other than that series, what has he done? Like, I hate those people. Like, whatever.
True.
Like,
I think
so. Like, it's all about what he'll do in the very last series, and until he wins a ring, I don't think he's ever going to get the respect fully from everyone.
Yep.
And even if he gets a ring this year, people will be like, "Oh, the bubble was stupid. There were no fans. LeBron couldn't win without his fans there."
There will always be people that hate on him. Like, you know what I mean? There will always be people. Like, that's with every great player, though. You know what I mean? So there will always be Dame haters, no matter what he does. So I just whatever. They're going to say what they want. Like, they're going to sound more stupid if Dame wins a ring and they're saying some of the same stuff, though. So we'll have to see on that. But final question. Do you think the roster right now is better than the roster that made the Western Conference Finals run in terms of who's playing?
Not without Zach and all our wing depth. Yeah. I would say if we had one of Ariza, Hood, or I mean, I guess we don't know how long Collins will be out, but if we had one of Ariza or Hood, I would say it's pretty comparable, if not a little deeper than last year. Our starting lineup is definitely better, I think. But yeah, we're playing Mario. Like, we wouldn't have had to do that last year.
We were playing Evan Turner.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, Evan Turner's a solid defender. Like,
he's still not good though. He's still pretty garbage. Like,
that's a good point. But yeah, it's tough. And Cantor was hurt. We definitely have two better centers right now than we had last year with half a Cantor. Although it would.
So what's your answer?
I would say because of the injuries, last year was better.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a lot closer than I thought it would be.
I disagree.
I think next year is going to be better than both.
For sure, because we'll have to reset.
And if it's not, we've been not super hard on Olshey other than the trade deadline stuff. But yeah, I'll be very, very upset if we do not come back with a loaded roster next year.
Yeah, but just in terms of this year's playoff roster versus last year's, I actually think this year's is better. One thing you forgot to take into account: Dame is better than he was last year.
That's true.
Dame is better. The centers, Nurkic is far better than Cantor. Like, I think that just outweighs everything. Like, Dame being better and then Nurkic being far better than Cantor. And then Melo is right now is honestly, I don't think he's any worse than any of our wings last year. Gary Trent Jr. has kind of replaced the Seth Curry role. He's not quite as consistent, but he's a better defender than Curry was, right? So, just overall, I think like this roster is better if they can defend like they did in Game 1, right? So we still have to wait and see on that. Because offensively, I think it's definitely better.
See, that's my main problem is last year we had the personnel to make up for the defensive deficiencies on a more consistent basis. I will agree with that. If we play defense like we played in game one or like we play against Houston, then I would agree that having the better offensive unit would give the edge to this year's team. But until we prove consistently more than like a random game here or there that we not the worst defense in the league, pretty much, that's hard for me to give the edge to this team.
Yeah, I feel that. So, chat, what was your guys' answers? Yes or no in the chat right now? Yes, if this year's team is better. No, if last year's team is better. Or say last or this year's. Let me know. I'm curious. Because I know I know you guys were answering, but I kind of missed it.
If Nurk didn't get hurt last year, that...
Oh, for sure.
They're saying yes.
I should post that as a Twitter poll and get more like answers on it, but because that is interesting. Because if we made the Western Conference Finals last year with a worse roster, then you can't blame personnel for us not making it this year, right? I mean, let's just be honest. Like, that'll be a Twitter poll. Yeah, you know. Then you blame, right? Because Stotts, we made the Western Conference Finals with Stotts, but then he has a better roster and doesn't make it this year. Well, then he must have done something wrong, right? Anyway, I don't know. I have no Stotts. After that first game, final question. I don't even want to go in depth because I need to get off. But what would you grade Stotts in game one?
I'd give him a minus.
That's what I was going to give him. I keep coming up with good questions when, like, my outro.
Yeah. So it's not an A because our offense got super stagnant. I was frustrated that we didn't run a lot of sets in the second half when we were struggling mightily, and second quarter too when we couldn't get a basket. I think we had like 2 or 3 field goals, and we still just run our same basic offense, even though doing different things was good in the first quarter. But just the fact that he did make an attempt, and I know that's setting the bar really low, but we beat the number 1 seed in game one, so I don't see how you could give him anything worse than an A minus, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, A plus would be as good of a job as possible, and I thought he got pretty close to doing as good of a job as possible. I agree. The offense there during that stretch was what knocked it down from like an A plus to an A minus for me. But yeah, A minus for me too, for all the same reasons you stated. I know, like, people watching us are probably shocked. We're both giving Stotts an A minus for a game, but he did what we wanted. So hopefully it's an A minus or something for next game. We'll have to see.
Like with the Melo stuff, I hope people recognize that we are not too proud or prideful to admit when what we're seeing is different than what we analyze, except for maybe with you, Michael Porter Jr. But
no,
just messing with you. But if Stotts outcoaches and wins us this series because he was doing coaching stuff, like, we will give Stotts full credit. We're not gonna be like, oh, screw Stotts, we hate him. Like, we're never gonna give him credit. Just like with Melo, like, you were pretty hard on Melo for a while there, and you've given him his props.
I call it how it is. That's my catchphrase, and I butchered it. What's wrong with me? I call it how it is. Always. With Melo, with Stotts, with Michael Porter Jr., with everything.
Call it how it is.
Hey, that sounds good. I call it how it is.
But yeah, so this is... I'm blanking on the right word here. I am very hopeful that Stotts does not just be like, see, I coached a great game one. We'll just have that same game plan game two, and we'll win every game, right? Like,
it'll still be better than what we saw before earlier on this bubble, though.
But this is the problem. Like, I get to beat a team like a number 1 seeded Lakers team. You have to make adjustments during the game, which we didn't see on the offensive end. And then you have to make huge adjustments and plan on what the adjustments are going to be from the other team, like we talked about earlier. So he needs to have a good game 2 to back up game 1, hopefully.
Yep. I need to stop asking questions. I agree with that. That's a great point. I'm just laughing because it's funny because I was like, I don't even want to go in depth on this. Just what would you grade them?
Yeah.
But I know you can't resist on just breaking it down. No, it's fine.
That's what I do.
Oh, man.
You were like seconds away from the peace out, go Blazers, like a half an hour.
I was just curious. Like, what would you grade them? You've been like, if you said A-, I've been like, same, A- as well. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Oh man, I'm the one asking the questions though, so that's funny. Anyway, yeah, I gotta go eat. That's why I'm getting off right now. I gotta go eat and work a little bit more. People tipped well today. I had a good Wednesday working for once. Normally Wednesdays suck, so don't have to do too much. So we were able to stream a little bit longer. That's why I'm sitting here asking all these phenomenal questions. But I gotta go get some food. I gotta get some Wendy's.
I just like to leave everyone with just be like Kyle Kuzma tonight. Sleep good. It's just basketball. At the end of the day, just got to go have some fun. Watch the game, have some fun. Doesn't matter if they lose, right?
Like just Kyle Kuzma? I'm so confused.
This is his quote. I slept good last night. It's just basketball at the end of the day. You just got to play the game, have fun. That's what he
he said?
That was his answer to, like, how are your thoughts on being down 0-1 in this series? That's what
It's just basketball. Like, I slept fine. Like, it's just bad. Like, we lost a playoff game, but it's just basketball. Bro. I wonder what LeBron's reaction to that was.
I know I slept, well, I was a little amped to sleep, but, like, once I went to bed, I slept great, so, yeah.
Freaking Carl Kuzma, man. Anyway. I love what else is there to get at 11:40 at night? It's like McDonald's or Taco Bell or Muchas Gracias, and I'm not feeling Mexican food right now. So Wendy's it is, man. I don't know. There's nothing else to get, and I'm hungry. I haven't really eaten today, so I gotta eat, guys. I gotta eat. I also gotta buy a weight set and buy some box jumps and actually get my ass back into shape because I feel like, bro, I'm starting to get a double chin. I don't like it, man. Starting to get just a little bit of it, so I need to definitely lose some weight and stuff. But like the LA Fitness by me is open. I don't know how. I'm confused as hell. So maybe I'll get a gym membership. But I don't know how it's open because we're still in phase 2. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling and I'm gonna go get some food. And I'm gonna catch you guys later. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. As always, peace out.